I think you're live. Oh, now you're live.
Hello, and welcome again to the Black Techies podcast, courtesy of the HBCU Digital Network. And we have a pretty informal show today. Um, Obviously, the news that we had earlier in the week, Apple had their big drop of their new line of super expensive and addictive quality products for folks to get. Um, Sony had their state of play, but there are a lot of other things that are going on in the world that have a lot to do with technology and how those events and technology intersect. But for the sake of continuity for our show, we're going to start with the obvious stuff, which is Sony and their attempts to get in your pockets. So, gang, what do you guys think about what's happened this week with Sony?
So I will admit I didn't. I saw okay. I saw some. I didn't see the actual state of play, but I did see the trailers that came out afterwards. And I the three games that I'm still really excited for are Ghostwire Tokyo. Uh, where is it? I just saw it. Forspoken. There you go. Forspoken and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection. I think it's like all the games in like one or something like that. I need to look at it again. But so they actually have like a full like 18-minute playthrough of a Ghostwire, and that game looks very interesting because it almost seems uh like if you had like Doctor Strange, but like he was Japanese. That's what it seems like. And it also has kind of BioShock vibes, like BioShock maybe. That's what it really reminds me of, BioShock. Like a Japanese BioShock. But yeah, those are the ones. And like if you see the gameplay, you'll be like, "Yep, that's Japanese BioShock," but in a good way, though. In a good way.
That's an interesting comparison.
Is there a bad way to be like BioShock? I mean, that's one of the greatest IPs of all time.
I know. I mean, I mean, maybe some people might not like the ambiance of BioShock. I don't know. But,
It's too scary for me.
I mean, it's not really a horror game though. It's more of a thriller.
It's
I
not.
don't know.
It's not a scary game.
It's kind of apocalyptic to me.
And I don't do well with unknown enemies. Like I don't know. Like I couldn't play Dead Space. I couldn't play I've gotten most of the way through BioShock. It's just like the random like crackheads that just pop up on you.
The
like
splicers. I think it's called splicers, right?
Splicers. That's it. That's the right call. I just
crackheads, bro.
Anytime I'm like, it makes you scared to open the door. I'm walking through the thing, and I'm like, man, I know it's gonna be some mess behind this door, man. And big daddies are always scary. It was a great game. They did a great job with like making me feel immersed, but it was too much. I couldn't. I get too immersed,
So there's this scene on BioShock Infinite, the last one. And where like you have to go to some computer and you have to like deactivate something. I forgot what you had to do. But like once you're done, like when you turn around to do the next part of the mission, there's like an enemy right there. It's like right there in front of your face when you turn around. Like it's a legit jump scare though. I will give you that one. That one was a legit jump scare. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't see you there.
I'm waiting for the Ninja Turtle game, the Cowabunga collection. I'm waiting on the new JoJo game. Giga Bash. Those are the three I'm waiting on.
Well, as we all know, I am not a PlayStation aficionado. Since you guys told me last week, and I was embarrassed to not know this, I realized that I got it on like Game Pass or whatever, the Sony to web, but I don't like PlayStation games, man. Like, I was playing God of War, and I was like, yo, this is what I've been waiting. This was a console seller, but I was like, it's
You
mid.
didn't like God of War?
No, I started with 3. I started with God of War 3 because they didn't have 2 or 1. So God of War 3, I think, is a PS3 game.
Yeah, PlayStation Now is all PS3 games and up. They don't now if they backdated it to PS2, I'll be happier with it. I mean, don't get me
Well,
wrong, I
I
like
did want to
PlayStation
go
now,
back and
but
play God of War 2, but it's fine. Like I started because I'm not if the game if there's a game before I like to play games in order to the best of my ability. Like if I'm gonna
Oh, I
watch a
mean,
show,
okay, I get
so
it,
like
cause
I
it
had
oh,
to.
kinda, yeah,
Yeah, I don't like missing inside jokes.
I get it, cause like if when you play God of War 2016, I mean, you can enjoy it without having played the previous games, but it makes certain events later in the game more impactful when you if you played the previous games.
Yeah. I played
But
the first God of War. I did play the first God of War, but I didn't play the second one. I didn't play the third one, and I haven't played this new one with Atreyu. Um,
you have to play the new one though. You gotta play the new one. That's
I
like
I
man,
just, the
like that's the
controls are
one.
weird. Like it's like I know I'm
It's not the
judging.
same though. They changed it in the
Okay,
newer one. It's
all
a
right,
totally different system.
okay. I will give it
It's
another
a more
run.
mature, more grown up kind of God of War. It's not like God
Angry,
of War 1 where you're
yeah.
like banging up a whole bunch of prostitutes and stuff. You're
Yeah,
not
I
doing
didn't see
that.
much of that in three either. I didn't see much of that in
Bruh.
three, but he's just a mad. He's just angry. I mean, I get it. He's the god of war or whatever, but like, I mean, people like, hey man, can we just? He be like, nah, man, I got to murder you, dog. Can we just? Like you good? You are you not good? He's like, no, I'm not good to all y'all dead and Zeus. And so,
Yeah, real quick before we go any further into our show format, I just want to give our new viewers on the HBCU Digital Network. We are streaming live on the HBCU Digital Network. We're going to give ourselves some brief introductions here. Uh, my name is Herbert Stewart. I'm one of the hosts of the Black Techies podcast. I am a product of Alabama State University, a native Washingtonian, guy that loves barbecue and black college athletics and everything else black colleges. Um, Dave Matthews, who is our founder and leader emeritus. I'll let you introduce yourself and your lofty credentials.
I don't know about all that. Yeah, so my name's David. Yeah, me and these fine people, we started the Black Techies a couple of years ago. And it's amazing that it's gotten to this point where we've been able to partner with HBCU Digital. I am a product of both Tennessee State University and North Carolina A&T State University. Uh, and if I do get my PhD, I'm looking at Howard, so we'll see. Uh, but yeah, I live in the DC area doing the IT thing. Right.
Yeah.
uh, you yes for the Uncle Sam, as most people in this area. You either work for Uncle Sam or you work for someone who works for Uncle Sam. That's how it works in this area. If you're not working for Uncle Sam, what are you doing here? But
Pretty much.
but
I
Pretty
mean,
unless you
y'all got KFCs and Taco Bells too.
much.
true, you gotta support the. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, you're
But
right. You're working for people who work for Uncle Sam in that case.
right. But yeah, that's me.
I am Leslie Moore. I am in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm also in IT. I am a proud Southern University and A&M College Jaguar. Yeah, I'm gonna say the whole thing because every time somebody says Southern, Southern what? No, the Southern University. I also run my own business called Get Rec Tech Support. I'm also a Twitch streamer, Get Rec 2020, and I am one of the newer members of the Black Techies podcast. I came on in what 2021 or 2020. I went from a guest to an actual
Yeah.
member of the group.
Yeah. She
That
aced the
episode
on.
is still there.
She
The
aced the
episode is
on
still there.
episode interview.
Oh, and I'm also a proud founding member of the Parthenona Gamers. We're a gaming community ran by four very proud Black women.
I'm a
Oh,
part of
I
that
think it has to
community.
be said that doesn't Southern isn't Southern the only HBCU with its own university system?
Yes, indeed.
I had
This
to
is
point that
true.
out for them.
Yes, indeed. New Orleans, Shreveport, Bossier. I think. Well, of course, the flagship in BR. I think we still have Alexandria, but I'm not sure. I don't want to misquote.
Word. Well, I'm Dominique. You see me here on the screen as Blackity Black Man. That's who I'm is. That's who I'm is. I am 37. I'm in IT sales. I'm a product of Tennessee State, the Tennessee State, the TSU. the I
Yeah.
love. Go Krats. You know what I'm saying? Go Tigers, the real Tigers. So I'm a father. I'm a tech enthusiast. I'm an avid gamer. Holler at me on League of Legends most days, but I really play everything. It's staggering the number of games that I play, and I'm still somehow able to manage a social life and be a father to these children who I just put them over in the corner with iPads. But anyway, that's me. I've been a techie since the beginning. So
And I would be remiss to not mention other members of our collective. We have Miss Ebony Burrows, who's another one of our newer members. Um, you'll be seeing her occasionally on rotations. She is a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University. Roberto Joseph, who is eclectic beyond his years. He is a product of Morehouse College, rather, excuse me. And Marcus Shute Jr., who is extremely well versed, and he's like our in-house legal counsel for technology. He is also a product of Tennessee State University. So going forward, when you see us in episodes, you'll be seeing various rotations of the techies. It could change pretty much every episode. That's kind of what keeps our our rapport pretty interesting. Um, Now that those introductions are out of the way, we get back to the show topic. So, like I said, there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on. The Sony and the Sony and the Apple drops that happened this week were pretty big. I think the one thing that happened, that really caught my eye about in regards to the Apple presentation was just what they did with the app with the new Studio desktop, and some of the specs and the pricing that came along with it. Obviously, I'm a Windows guy, but I got to say that the M1 Studio is kind of sexy, in terms of actually having a small form factor, desktop type of deal for Apple that can really do the things that they do. Um, I'm not too fond of the price tag. Never really have been fond of Apple's price tags. I'm not willing to give up my 10-year-old daughter to get a studio, but you know, um,
I
I
mean, but
can
do
see
you
the
really want it?
yeah, exactly.
Well,
um,
you have to be willing to switch over to Mac
Yeah,
OS.
that's
So I
the
mean, I'll say if you are willing, I think now I don't know about the Studio Display. I don't know if that's necessarily worth this asking price, but the Mac Studio, I think there's a compelling argument to for its asking price. So it starts off at 2,000, which is a lot. It's not cheap, but if you try to build a PC that's around the same specs or tries to that's around that tries to match what Apple is doing with their M1 Max chip in that form factor, man, this is a small form factor thing, right? You're gonna be hitting the same price tag or more if you try to build a PC. That's the same thing, right? And even then, you still won't get the same kind of integration that Apple gets with their vertical integration with their software and hardware. So I think this is less of a burden. Like instead of paying an arm and a leg, now it's just an arm. Right. So it's not quite the I don't at least I think it's fair. Like when you look at the specs, when you look at what it can do, when you see it compared to because they compared this to like the Nvidia RTX 3090. That's the highest one you can get. They compared this to I think the M1 Ultra chip is beating AMD's Threadripper CPU. That's the highest you can get. Unless you get to the Epic or to the server grade ones. But yeah, Threadripper is the highest you can get, and it's beating that. And
and
so
Threadripper by itself, that CPU costs you 4 G's. So
right. So I'm like, for all of that power and that little small space, I think it's worth it. If you're willing to go, to Mac OS. That's the
if you
caveat.
are a content creator or
yeah,
a music basically if you make media in some way, sure. It's not a gaming PC. I
No,
would not
please
buy
don't
it.
do that.
Like
Don't do it.
don't buy it to like you don't need it if all you do is Microsoft Excel or whatever Apple's version of Microsoft Excel is. You need this
You can just
thing.
use Excel.
You can use Excel.
Yeah, I
True.
figured.
You don't have to use numbers.
Yeah, that's what I can't remember because the other ones just like Word. What's their Word counterpart? Pages.
Yeah, pages. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so silly. Apple's so simple, and but listen, that's the one. Everybody knows they think they know me as a fanboy, Apple fanboy, and yes, I have the well, I had the AirPods. Got rid of the AirPods and got the Bose joints because I got tired of losing iPad Pros. But I got the iPad Pro, I got the iPhone, Pro, and that's it really. When I had the AirPods, I had that, and I like the Apple ecosystem. I do agree that they charge a little bit more. The what you're paying for is a premium. You're paying for something that you know works. Apple does not put stuff out that does not work. So I get it. It's a very niche product. I don't think we should be talking about it like it's not. It is a product that is for a specific kind of person. If you're in the market for a $2,000 PC and you're using it to edit video, edit audio, whatever, yes, this is probably what you should be buying. You should learn Mac OS and you should be in there because the power that you're getting out of $2,000 really, I mean, the M1 Ultra is $4,000, but even then, like if you're somebody that believes in believes in what you can make, believes in what you can put out, um,
If you make money from that too,
if you
that's
make
the important
money,
thing.
exactly.
If
If
you
it's
make
a
money from that, yeah, it's worth it.
exactly, you're going because what you don't realize is when you put a subpar PC in through the runs trying to edit video, yeah, yeah, you'll know it's a subpar PC. Like we're talking, you're talking 45 minutes to just compile all the changes that you made to a video or put whatever the word is when the thing's done and and you just see the thing circling. It's just circling and you just gotta go get something to eat, come back, but that's money that you're losing, right? If your job is to edit video, you needed to do it in a reasonable amount of time. So,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's always been a traditional appeal of the Apple ecosystem is that the nature of the ecosystem lends to being really good in terms of specialization, particularly for content creation, for web development, for those endeavors where you got one specific task that you need your machine to perform. Um, you know, that integration works like a champ, for Apple products. There's really no getting around that. And as much of a Windows fan as I am, um, particularly from the business and administrating sector of it, working for the government, or rather working as a government provider for the government, rather. Um, it's for those particular types of endeavors, it's perfect tool, and I think that's the big appeal that Apple has to a lot of consumers is that it is simple, it is very easy, it's very user intuitive. So um, that's something that they're always going to have um, a leg up on, and it's just by the nature of their environment, of their
the
ecosystem.
walled garden.
Right. That is quite literally the Death Star without the exhaust port.
It
With a
it really
torpedo.
is. I mean, it's great for like if you're doing a lot of processing, web development, software development, content creation. It's perfect, but at the same time, it's not for the run of the mill. I'm just getting started low end content creator.
Yeah.
Right.
That that's not the one for you. It looks beautiful, it's shiny, it's pretty, but it's not for you. It's a
Right.
bit
If
much.
you want something like just for browsing the web, homework, stuff like that, either if you want like a desktop, just get an iMac, or the regular
Or
Mac Mini. Just
Mac
get the
Mini.
regular, or
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
yeah, just
that.
get the Mac Mini.
Like that's like, you know what? I want to hammer this nail into the wall. Let me go get this jackhammer real quick, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna make this massive hole. If you're not at that point, don't try to kill yourself trying to get it. That's all I want to say.
It's a
Agreed.
weird flex. to have
Super weird.
this thing, this $4,000 PC, and like you're like, oh what? No, I'll just be on Instagram. Like, huh?
Like, I got 3 followers on YouTube. Y'all gonna
Right.
see these high quality videos.
I
Man,
take
speak
videos of ants outside my house, and
Watch.
yeah, and I put it on YouTube. I talk like I'm the ants. It's great content.
man, speaking of YouTube and content creation video, I'd be remiss, man. I actually caught myself going through shorts on YouTube and TikTok earlier this week, and I never thought I would say that about how I would occupy my time, some of my time,
Oh,
but
they're good. Listen, the
bruh,
human
Those
brain is
TikToks be
wired.
getting you.
The human brain is wired for this real short, interesting content, and the algorithm is perfection. TikTok's algorithm is perfection. Like I could watch anything. There's nothing else. Like, I could watch 50 straight of something and never have to swipe out. Like I never have. I'm never watching a video and like, no, thank you. Literally, I never do that except like once every 55 videos or so.
What's
dude,
funny, if you think about it, TikTok is what Vine wanted to be so bad.
Yes,
Yep.
I mean, Vine is TikTok's
Vine
granddaddy.
started it. It
Yeah.
literally, like, without the idea of Vine, TikTok would not have known what they needed to fix and work upon to become what they are today without
Just give them a
Vine just
little bit
falling
longer than
apart.
7 seconds. Just give them a
Yep.
little longer than 7 seconds. That's all.
yeah, I would. I mean, I definitely, I couldn't really. I had to catch myself, man. Honestly, I was just like, wow, I'm looking at TikTok.
TikTok will
I'm,
stop you
I'm,
after about
yeah,
45 minutes to an hour. TikTok is like, hey man, I know you like TikTok. You don't put your phone down, and go for a walk or something. Like, no, thank
bro.
you. Actually, skip.
Yeah, man. But it's definitely, um, it got me to thinking because the nature of that type of content, um, content that's not really long, that doesn't require a lot of focus. It seems to really be, well, it has, not seems to be. It has really dominated the market in terms of the type of content that consumers normally check out. Um, Even slipping in ads and stuff, into that particular type of platform is extremely effective because you don't have to put a lot into the ad. You don't have to put a lot of overhead into it. Um, it's a really, interesting thing to see, a 20 or 15-second blurb for an ad pop up in a TikTok video or in a YouTube short. You know, um, it's I think we had a podcast a while ago that really, we really kind of covered, the landscape of Black creators in in media and content, content creation. On YouTube in particular, there's just YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. That I mean, you just got so many things that are out there. You've got comedians making their own careers, whole careers, just doing YouTube shorts and web series. You've got streams like this one, video podcasts, and the fact that we see more people of color, doing this, than ever before is, it's a really, really positive thing to see. Um, that also kind of gets us into a segue to what we, the nuts and bolts of what we're kind of trying to talk about tonight. Um, the 800-pound gorilla in the room that's going on in the world right now is the war in Ukraine. And it's there are a lot of things that came to mind as I've been watching news coverage of it. First, it's the first fully social media war that we've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, first, completely encased 24-hour news cycle conflict that we've seen. Where, I mean, we're getting real-time updates from the battlefield from CNN and BBC and Reuters. Um, you know, Social media posts about, convoys getting attacked and all sorts of stuff. Um, it's
You know,
also,
No,
Oh,
okay,
go
keep
ahead.
going. So no,
Yeah.
so you know, so I would say the one thing that's kind of defined the internet in recent year, maybe not recent, but maybe for a while now, is memes, right? You see memes all the time, and so like I'm on Ukraine's official, like the country of Ukraine, their official Twitter page, and like they just posted like a meme 3 hours ago. So it's the one with Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire where he takes his glasses off. And so like he when they're off, you see like the Soviet Union tanks, and then when you put some on, they're like destroyed. And
Yeah, that's
uh
crazy.
so like it's just interesting to see social media being like you said, it's interesting to see how social media is being used to frame public
by both
opinion.
sides.
Right.
Exactly.
Because Russia's doing the same thing. They've been doing this for like years. 2016. But we're not gonna talk about that though. But
No comment. No
but
comment.
but but yeah, I mean, like you said, this it's just interesting how people it's not just a traditional war. I mean, yeah, they're using weapons and explosives and all that kind of stuff and guns, but like, it's not just that anymore. Now it's like, how can I sway public opinion to my side via the internet, via social media? It's just via memes at that. Like that's just crazy.
I think the craziest thing I saw was the first day of the attack. I had a friend who had some friends that were in the Ukraine. They actually posted a video where you saw live bombing. This is stuff that the media in both countries used to be able to block out. If they tried to, anybody tried to show any kind of videos of what's really going on or what's happening, they would edit it like, oh, don't worry about that. That's not happening. That's a hoax. Now you have people actually showing this stuff in real time and they can't hide this. You can't be like, well, that didn't happen. Well, this video from this person who's currently there shows it happened. You can't hide or whitewash or cover up anymore in the social media age. You're actually going to see it as it happens. And this is the first time it's ever going to happen. And it's really going to shape out how things are going to end, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was listening to somebody. This is somebody else's take. It's not mine, but his thought was, it's interesting that like, has war always been this chaotic or trash, or is the social media showing us how bad? Like specifically, he was looking at um, if the Russian tankers that were pulled over and stopped on the side of the road. He was like, you never would have heard about that or saw that, but now we know, like, tanks just be running out of gas out here. And the dude was like, hey, you need us to give you a ride back to Russia? Like these kind of little things. It's just like, um, you know, that's a weird thing that you never would have saw before. And like Leslie was saying, like, you're gonna sometimes get to watch something that the news was very measured, and the government has a lot to say about what we all see. But now that's being democratized, just like with video cameras and police brutality. White people thought we was playing until now they're just like, now they're just like, I know it's sad, but I still like police, so I'm just gonna, but
Yeah.
before they were able to be like, no, police are great, but now they can't say that with their mouths. They just have to, like, look over there where police are being good. So it's just the technology and social media and the democratization of what we're the internet just basically removed gatekeepers. So once that happens, then we're about to see more truth than we've ever seen before. I don't know that what we're seeing is the actual truth. Like, for instance, the video I saw, which made me like stop. I'm not over here flying a Ukrainian flag. Like, I don't want them to be taken over. I think Russia's deplorable for what they're doing. But then I saw them like turning the African student away, talking about, you can fight for Ukraine, but you can't get on that train with Ukrainian refugees and go home. Like, nah. So if you're gonna treat people that look like me worse than you treating your people, especially people that were visiting your country, it should be imperative on you to make your men stay back before you let refugees or visitors to your country and women and children stay. So I'm like anti. I'm not anti Ukraine, but like, I'm like, I don't really care what happened to them. Y'all mess with folks. We don't mess with y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the big thing for me, well, not just necessarily just checking out the coverage. I know CNN had something on, a reporter on scene there during a rocket or a rocket strike where there's a family walking across the street that were, trying to get out of town, out of Dodge or whatever, and the bomb hit right in their area, and next thing you know, you're getting a close up of, a dead family, on camera. It's really, I think the biggest thing that bothers me about not necessarily just the coverage, but um, the role technology is playing in that coverage is that um, it's really accelerated the process of desensitization um, to those things. Um, we're quite literally seeing this in a 24-hour news feed, and it's like, wow, okay, that's terrible, but what else is going on with my day to day? And
I think we
it,
care a lot more if I think black people specifically would care a lot more if that didn't happen.
yeah,
If
and I
they,
think yeah, and I think that's the other thing too, as it pertains to the black folk, is that um, it's really kind of hard to um, step out of that envelope, seeing things outside of the United States when there are so many things happening here, and um, that's not a refrain that's out of the ordinary. This is something that's happened um, almost any time we've had a conflict or we've even be remotely involved with a conflict. As a veteran myself, we've studied history with, the Vietnam War, World War II, the Korean War, where um, black interests or African American interests, particularly things that have been going at home, in some instances, in a lot of instances, were in direct conflict to what the geopolitical um, to what that geopolitical reality outside the United States was. So it's like it's it's really interesting seeing how this is playing out. And like I said, technology has been at the forefront of everything, whether it's coverage, whether it's the threat to the greater globe at large. If our friend Comrade Putin decides that he wants to kirk out again and launch a cyber attack against somebody, um, there are a lot of moving parts that have technology at the forefront to this conflict. Um, that last part in particular, um, the threat of cyber attack, that's something that's a 21st century type of deal. That's something that, even in this century of warfare, this is the very first time where that has legitimately been a part of the landscape of warfare. Um, and, as a norm, as something that you have to really game plan for. So that's something that, really raised the eyebrow to me, and looking at this coverage and listening to people that are in and around that technology every day. It's like, yeah, well, we got to make sure that our infrastructure and stuff is hardened. Our power stations, places that we wouldn't even think about. Our financial systems, all sorts of things. So,
Yeah, it's funny
um,
you mentioned that because uh, I could have sworn I saw, was it last week? I don't know. There was it was a group of, as Dominique like to say, white men that were that were arrested because they were trying to launch. They were planning on. No, they were planning on firing at a substation, like a transformer, like a electric substation or whatever. And the goal was to like take the power out or something like that, and somehow from that start a race war or something like that. I don't know, but the very fact that we have to protect our, like you said, our infrastructure, because that right there, because I one of the strategies that Russia likes to use is that they'll often like do um and this isn't like classified or anything, but they like to do it's like a cyber attack right before they launched an attack, and that's exactly what happened. Right before they invaded, you saw a bunch of Ukrainian websites go down, military websites go down, and then right after that, that's when you heard about the actual invasion itself. So like Herb said, like in 2021 and in the 21st century, like cyber war is going to be it's going to be alongside like regular war, like regular conventional warfare with weapons and artillery and stuff like that. You know,
And the
uh,
cultural war on social media.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and then yeah, which actually kind of is a good segue into like the um what was I going to talk about? Totally forgot what I was gonna go after that. But yeah, just the whole battle for information, misinformation, disinformation, like what's actually true. And since this is the internet and people can say anything they want on the internet, it's really important to know that what the information that you're getting is actually factual and true.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
we're still dealing with the whole consequences of that, dealing with our prior presidential election and the last two presidential election cycles. We're dealing with a lot of misinformation, especially coming from Russian operatives, and a lot of us are being led into situations where we think, well, if we go help, we'll have this, we'll have that, and I mean, it all kind of ties into these new GPA looking gas prices. I'm not a fan.
I wish my GPA was that high.
That's what I'm saying. They're at like summa cum laude gas. I need you at like academic probation.
bruh. That's all I gotta say, bruh. And I know we
Because
were talking,
I
and
work
I
from
think,
home. Can't
uh,
relate.
and I mean, the gas prices. Again, that's a byproduct. And I know we were talking offline briefly about the effect that it's having on the gig economy, specifically Uber, Lyft, folks that work in that realm. Um, if there wasn't, if there wasn't a poster child event for the transition to, different types of sustainable energy, this Ukraine dust up is it, you know.
Yeah, but it's not giving us enough of an appetite. Like we're all, all of us like, oh, it's terrible, but like, so what if we boycott Russian oil and your gas got to go up $1 because of it? Sorry, Ukraine. You know what I mean? Like that's literally how we feel. Like everybody's comfortable with sacrifice until it hits them. Everybody's comfortable with other people sacrificing. That's pretty much what it seems like. When it comes to like forget Ukraine and forget Russia and forget the U.S. Climate change is really the biggest thing. Like the fact that anybody has any conversation in this country, in this world, that doesn't end in, hey man, what are we doing about climate change? The fact that that happens every day, we go every day without thinking about it, and it's literally going to be the death of us. Like, I don't know if y'all saw Don't Look Up, but like
Oh
that's
yeah, absolutely. I
that's
think,
man,
that's
if that
climate
wasn't
change.
accurate,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that's
was so
but
accurate.
they
but
gonna
it's
be
fun.
like, yo, Florida's gone, y'all. That's what they're gonna say one day. Florida gone, and then we gonna, man, Florida ain't
No,
gone. Have you been? You haven't been? You can go if you go if you want to. They're gonna tell us that for a good year. There ain't no flights gonna go. Ain't gonna be no flights to get there, and the road gonna be closed off to get there. But they gonna keep telling us that Florida's there.
Well, I think that's the main thing that we talk about when it comes to technology. Um, it's becoming harder and harder to have that layer of deniability when it comes to not acknowledging those things. As you can see with our boy Vladimir over there in Moscow, he's having problems controlling his narrative, and that has a direct technology has a lot to do with that. Um, Access to social media, access to technology or lack thereof. Um, the longer this conflict goes for him, it's going to be harder for him to control the narrative in his own country
Never put
because,
it past a powerful white man to just look you right in your face and say, "I didn't do what you saw me do."
well, that's a whole nother podcast, bro. But
I
I
will say
think,
with all the sanctions though, and all the that's what I was going to talk about. I remember now. So like the sanctions and all the impact from all the private American companies that are like removing services, Netflix. I think Microsoft said you can't buy any Xbox games there or something. I think like, there's a whole bunch of companies that are like pulling out of Russia or at least cutting off service to Russia. But it's kind of a bittersweet or because like the people
Didn't
there who are
do it,
living there who aren't involved in this at all, they're just regular everyday resident citizens,
but we
right?
need them to rise up. We need them to be on
Well,
some
That's
January 6th
but
stuff. We
is
need them
it
to be like good patriotic white Americans and stop the steal and get up there and get in Putin's face. He ain't gonna
but
kill them all. He can't.
Well, the question is this going to incite them to do that, or is it going to do the reverse? Is it going to drive them right into Putin's arms, and he's going to be like, you see what those Americans are doing to y'all? See, they don't like y'all. See, as I
Stop using American
wonder,
services, my boy. Like that's the thing. Like I hear what you're saying, and that's possible. We're radicalizing, but we can't keep moving through life being worried about turning white people into true white people. We can't be worried about them hitting their perfect form.
well,
Uh,
I'll just say this, man, and I think this is something that having had some of the experiences I've had um, outside the United States. Um, I think a lot of times we're how can I put this? We're very insulated to some of the things that go on the other on the other continents rather. Um, like the whole thing, this whole, situation with Ukraine and Russia has been something that's been building for almost a decade. It's, ever since Putin, kind of took over the reins there for their country, he's been angling for um, a way to create more of a buffer zone between him and the West. And anybody that knows anything about this dude is former KGB. He's not the nicest guy in the world to begin with. I mean, that dude is. There are a lot of things about him that still scream Cold War. So, um, I think a lot of times when we're, particularly us as African Americans, when we, look at the immediacy of the things that we have going on in our own backyard, we tend to look at everything else outside of America through that lens. And sometimes, a lot of times it's very, very relevant. And sometimes, you have to kind of take a step back and look at the dynamics in the specific part of the world and say, wow, that's been going on for a minute. Ukrainians don't like the Chechens. The Chechens don't like the Russians, or rather, they work with the Russians.
and
It
all
could
of them
be,
together don't like us.
yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's another topic of another. That's a topic for
Which
another podcast.
which is why I cannot understand why young Madam Griner was in them white folks airport with anything in her bag at all. I'd have left it all at the house. I mean, that's easy to say in hindsight, but like, God, and I'm sure she's gotten in and out of the country a billion times with whatever she had on her, and who knows, maybe it was planted on her, who knows, but I'm under the understanding that she was told, like all of the Americans, high profile Americans that were over there were told weeks prior that something's probably going down soon, and like you got to get out. Don't wait till the bombs drop to like try to leave, right? Like I get it. She's making $1 million a year over there. She couldn't get close to that here. I get it. We should pay our women athletes more. Allegedly, there's an argument to be made for that. But like it's hard. I mean, we're not going to do nothing crazy. Like we're not dropping a bomb for Brittany Griner. We just not. America does not love black women enough to do anything about Brittany Griner. Probably gonna have to do her 5 to 10, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to kind of put that into perspective. I get it, and the fact of the matter is that it could have been anybody. It could have been anybody besides Brittany Griner, because you got a ton of men and women that play overseas. I think it's just to me, it's just the wrong place, the wrong type of time, wrong time type of deal.
mm-hmm.
And because I mean, besides the athlete, you got two other American citizens over there now. One older white guy that's his name escapes me, but he's there locked up under suspicion of espionage. Which is he ain't just looking at 5 to 10.
What
He's
you
looking
doing
at
over there?
he looking at Siberia time, if that.
I,
You know,
it's so hard for me. It's you got to do triple time to get have make me feel sympathy for a white man. But it's I definitely it's like I feel bad. It's not like it again.
I have to put this
I don't
disclaimer out.
want this for. I know I don't
Uh,
want it for anybody, right? I know you about to disclaim this. My views don't apply to everybody else. I don't hate white people, y'all. I don't hate white people. I love everybody. I love everybody.
Hey,
I'm saying
put it
that,
in the little thing that the what's that thing called? The chevron, whatever
I'm,
they call it, the thing you at the
I'm,
bottom.
yeah.
I'm already typing, dude.
My point is that we can't like when that young white man stole that thing over from China, when he stole whatever, I can't remember, it was like a banner or something, like being mischievous, and then he got like caned in the back in public and all that, and they detained him. Like, do you want us to go to war, or do we have to go to war every time one of our silly whites, entitled whites, go across go on the other side of the globe and do? And if you're gonna do that, then you need to do it for Brittany Griner. But they're not going to do it for Brittany Griner. They didn't do it for that young man. Like, listen, if it'd be different if we weren't at war. If we weren't at war, I'd say give Russia what they want to get our citizens back. But when we at war, I'm sorry, the lives of three citizens does not equal what um the like the number of the like the level of destruction that Russia is able to cause on the world if we just let them go unchecked. If you send a message that it's okay to just invade another sovereign country because it's Tuesday, then we're in trouble, right? And so we got to do something about it. You ain't spell my
You know,
name right.
it's I
Hey.
it kind of the kind of echo what Herb was saying about like how we kind of see things as Americans through like our American bubble, and like I would highly encourage if you're able, like if you are able to travel overseas, like do it, like go around the world, like get that experience from different countries. I remember when I went to Germany, it's like they're a lot like us in some ways because there's the West, but in other ways they're totally different. Like for example, you don't tip in Germany. Like if you like over here, we give like a 15% tip. If you give a 15% tip in Germany, they're like, "What? Like, what are you doing?" They might still take it, but they're gonna look at you side. They're gonna side at you for a little bit because that's just not a thing there. Um, and it's just I don't know. I you come away with a different perspective if you're able to kind of see things from a different culture's point of view, which is not there's nothing wrong with that, right? And I feel like people would be a lot more well-rounded, especially Americans, because we're all the way over here on the other side of the Atlantic, right? So it's or Pacific, depending on where you are.
Who can afford to take a week off of work in this country? You know what I mean? Over in them other countries, they give them, like, they force them to take like 2 paid weeks of vacation. We're here on holiday. Like, they're just over here. Like, then you guys, wait, what do you do? Oh, I'm a plumber. Like, our plumbers ain't taking no week off. Our
I
plumbers
don't,
got to work. And
I
I
don't
said they
know.
make good money. No, they make good money. I'm not taking away from their money, but you got to work. Like,
I don't know, man. I didn't seen a couple of. I didn't seen some folks taking some time. I mean, I'm just saying.
Wish I'm a contractor, and if I take time off, that's fine. They're just not paying me for it.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a detriment. It's like our system of labor is not really designed for our entry tier people to enjoy life. It's designed for them to continue to produce products for the economy. So that's why the McDonald's don't have, you ain't no pay, ain't no PTO. Like, you generate an hour of PTO every pay period or something like that. You got to work there 2 years, get you about 3 days of vacation. It's crazy.
So let me pose a question to the rest of the panel here. How do you think this conflict is going to work out? What do you think the end result of this conflict is going to be?
Dominique. I think it depends. I mean, there are several ways this could go, but if the worst case scenario is if NATO gets involved, right? If Putin does something stupid and he actually if he attacks a NATO country, then we're in World War III. That's it. That's World War III, right? Uh, the only other thing I'm hoping that Putin and Zelensky can somehow work out something. The problem is Putin wants Zelensky to become a neutral company, a neutral country rather, right? It's like they don't want them to join NATO, they don't want them to join the EU, even though they just applied for the EU, by the way. And so like they don't want them to become involved with the West. But Zelensky's like, no, we're a sovereign country, we can do what we want. but it's a lot more to it because, and if you understand the history of the Cold War, the history of all
Breaking up of the
Soviet, the former
USSR.
Soviet, yeah, right. So if you understand all of that history and all that, because there are a lot of Russian speaking people in Ukraine, like Putin was right in that they do have a lot of cultural ties, but does Ukraine have the right to do what they want, or should Russia have the ability to enforce its will over its former countries or whatever? I don't know. I
I
don't
mean, you're
know.
saying that like there's like a moral dilemma there. I mean, obviously Russia should not be able to enforce its
Well, no,
will.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't. Russia should not be able to do that, right? So I'll say that Russia should not be able to assert its will over a sovereign country. But the problem is Russia doesn't think that, right? They believe that they own Ukraine. They even said that. I think Putin said that Ukraine isn't even a real country, right? He said, but
Yeah,
so like
that's crazy.
so the only other way this could happen is if the Russian people, like put more pressure on the Russian government to pull back all the troops. That would be the only other way. And the sanctions, they do their thing. But I don't know how well. I'm not an economist. I'm not a military expert. Whatever. I'm not a politician, so I don't know how effective our sanctions are going to be ultimately. I don't know because you
This would
got
have been a
China down
great time
there.
to have Trump in office.
Well,
I mean, I ain't even holding you. Nah, listen. You need somebody in this case. You need somebody that you don't know what he finna do, and that's Trump to the T. You need somebody to be like, hey man, he might push that button. You need somebody in Putin there like, hey man, do you really want this? Because
I'm
He
gonna put.
won't. He
I'm gonna
won't
put.
because it's going to be against his. Well, I can't say that.
I mean,
Yeah,
and I know that's his homeboy, but he can't let the people know it's his homeboy. And just him being white, he don't love nobody. He don't trust. He would literally push his kid in front of a bus to save his like to pick up $1.
Yeah,
So
I'm a literally.
Erica's going to
I'm
go.
a literally broadcast this disclaimer again.
I mean, you
Uh,
should
That's
probably put that at the
hilarious.
beginning of every episode. Hey, I says what I means and I means what I says.
yeah, I think to be quite honest with you, I think our boy, he who should not be named, would not. Um, I wouldn't want his temperament dealing with this, honestly. Um, it frankly would scare the hell out of me to have him, that close to the shiny red button ever again. I
I
just
think we need somebody. Joe Biden ain't finna do nothing. That's what we know. We know Joe Biden ain't
well,
finna.
I, we
I'm not defending Donald Trump, by the way. That has never happened. It will never happen. I'm saying that in this particular case, because of his instability, because we know Russia is they're playing a game, and they're playing a game that they know we have to follow the rules to, right? You just say this thing in public and then you do what you want. They said, hey, there's two provinces in Ukraine that really want to be part of us, and all we're doing is just honoring their wishes. They're sovereign, parts of their country, and they're asking us to come help them. And then we're like, no, they're not. But they're like, yeah, they are. And then like if you can't do nothing about it. And like so then we just watch them do it, right? All we're doing is just sitting there and watching this happen. Oh, sanctions. He put like $640 billion in award. He knew this was coming. He knew the sanctions were coming. He believes he can weather the sanctions. And then once he's done taking over Ukraine, which they fighting, they putting up a fight. And I believe what he believes is that he can weather the storm, take over, install a puppet government, and then
Like Belarus.
yeah, exactly. And then eventually, once the tensions cool down, and he's like, "Hey, man, come on with these tensions. We're not even in war no more." And once they relieve the sanctions, then his puppet governor says, "Hey, you know what? We actually want to be part of Russia." Boop, we're done.
I mean, I could definitely see that happening though. I'm not even gonna lie.
yeah
That
yeah
scenario, you don't think so?
yeah I could see it happening. I just think that if the orange guy was in this position right now, I think he probably would have been doing what he's doing now, which is like, well, this is all Ukraine's fault. There's a reason why this, Putin is doing what he's doing, and you've literally got people people on that side of the aisle, some people agreeing with or taking, the stance that Russia is somehow in the right for invading another side. Yeah. Have you heard? Heard your boy?
Look,
You
Lindsey
didn't you
Graham,
didn't hear
Lindsey
the
Graham told.
people at the not it wasn't at CPAC, it was another conservative event. I forgot the name of it, but they were chanting Putin.
Oh boy. Hey man, these GOP is different, man. This GOP cut different. Can you imagine going back to the late '60s, early '70s, and
'80s.
showing them like, hey man, this is a video. Don't worry about how I got the video so small. Don't worry about what this is. This is a computer. We'll talk about it later. But look at your people. They are chanting
Not even
for
that,
Russia.
man. Not even that. 2012. Go back to
Yeah.
2012. Like the GOP in 2012 is solely like Mitt Romney, what he ran on is totally different than what Trump ran on. So like it's totally different from what the GOP is now.
Well,
Which
I'm
is
talking about in the height of
yeah.
the Cold War
Oh
stuff.
well,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
imagine going back to those Republicans and showing them, like, go to these true patriots, the ones who just, it's America. Go to these American. Like, I just can't even wrap my mind around how you're pro Russia and pro America. It's so different. But what it's really telling you, what it's really showing you, is that they don't actually believe in democracy. That's not their jam. Power is their jam, and they've seen that there's a better way to have and maintain power, especially in a diversifying country. They're realizing, uh-oh, power slipping. Maybe we need to stop this quote unquote freedom stuff. It wasn't real freedom anyway. It's just the illusion of freedom. But if we don't take this illusion on off, we don't start this autocracy, oligarchy. If we don't begin that process now, we're gonna be out of power or not in strong enough numbers to maintain this system. We need the Negras to work for us. We can't have them up here with us. Barack Obama was the signal that things had changed, and now we've seen a huge swing back on the other way. Like, we need them to, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I just think this whole situation, with Ukraine is it's an eye opener for a lot of people that didn't think that this dude was on the up and up. It's also an eye opener for folks that are taking the role of technology in things like this lightly. I think I said the last episode, if you're a cybersecurity professional or a cloud professional or any sort of specialist within that realm of the industry, you're going to be in high demand really, really quick, all over the place. It's not a joke. If you go out and get yourself a cybersecurity degree or a cybersecurity cert,
I'll have mine in February.
yep, you are going to be platinum. And it is something that, as African Americans in the space, that love technology, I would be remiss to not mention and to not encourage people to explore those avenues, because the demand is going to be there for it, and not necessarily because World War III is going to be upon us. It's going to be, because that's the nature of where employment is going. It's going to be a very interesting 2 to 5 year period, to see how much this expands and how how many of us get into the industry, get our foot in the door. On that note, I would like to go ahead and we've gotten our word that we're going to get kicked off the airwaves in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and start closing the show. Thank you guys for our initial live stream broadcast on the HBCU Digital Network. Look forward to seeing us the first 2 Saturdays of every month. You'll be seeing the Black Techies podcast stream on HBCU Digital. For Dave Matthews, Leslie Moore, Dominique Bass, and the rest of the TBT crew that is not on scene, but we love y'all too. Thank you for tuning in, and catch our
Before you go,
podcast.
oh, go ahead, go
Oh,
ahead. I was gonna say no. I was gonna say go ahead, plug everything.
catch our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and pretty much every place else that podcasts can be downloaded and bought.
And leave a
And we
review.
can, leave a review,
Please review.
please leave a
Please
review.
review.
Yes. And you can also check out some of our written content at the Black Techies website, which is www.theblacktechies.com. And if you're on Facebook, join our collective, the Black Techies Collective on Facebook.
Can I say
Again,
something real quick? Real quick. So I promise you, real quick. So as you see here, we have the regular podcast with on the first two Saturdays. I'm going to bring back my own like mini podcast. I called it Just Processing. I think I'm going to go back to my original name, Short Black and Techie. Be on the lookout for that. So it's coming back. All right, keep going.
Yep, and that's pretty much it. Just keep in mind, follow. You can follow some of us. Hit up our Twitter page of obviously Black Techies. We're also on Twitch. I know some folks. I'm looking at some of the stats, and some of the folks are following us on Twitch today, which is great. We can be reached on all of those platforms in addition to the HBCU Digital Network. For Dave, Leslie, and Dominique, and for myself, hail Wakanda.
Hey, yo, Wakanda.
Wakanda forever.